let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Hello and welcome to Justice for Veterans. We're glad you could join us this week. We're excited to have some special guests with us. But as we begin, let me introduce myself. I'm David Standridge. I'm a practicing attorney here in the state of New Mexico and have been practicing law since 1996. I'm the managing attorney at the Justice Legal Group, and I practice primarily in the area of veterans disability benefits. We're excited that you're here with us today. I hope to share some important information regarding our veterans community, and we look forward to this episode. Hi, in this show we want to continue discussing some important legal issues regarding the whole idea of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. In the last episode we introduced PTSD, what it is, how it has to be connected to something in service. But in today's show I want to briefly talk to you about PTSD and how it's measured for purposes of disability ratings with the VA. And it's a very difficult issue because, as I've mentioned so many times before, you know, when you have a broken arm, you can see the progress that happens with a broken arm through x-rays. But with PTSD, that goes on between your ears, and it's hard to measure what's going on in your head. However, there are some subjective tests that occur that a psychologist or a doctor may give. The most common that I've seen that veterans are exposed to by the VA and private practitioners is called the Global Assessment of Functioning test score. And obviously the lower the score you have, the less functioning you are in society. And the higher the score, the more functioning you have in society. And that's kind of a misnomer because day by day your GAF score is what it's called, can change. So you might have a good episode, a good day, where your GAF score might be high. But then the very next day you have a breakdown or a meltdown or some other problem that triggers some symptoms and your GAF score becomes incredibly low. So it's a bit of a misnomer, and you have to know how to really maneuver within the VA system to appropriately measure the disability rating for VA purposes of the PTSD. And again, that's what we help veterans do, but you look at certain symptoms such as medications, self-help, suicidal ideations, things along those lines. And so if you have questions that you'd like us to address in this legal segment, just email me at info@justicelegalgroup.com. In this part of our show, we like to give a special salute to veterans who have served on our behalf to protect our nation and to give us the freedom that we currently enjoy. And so this week, we want to give a special salute to a veteran who's been brought to our attention from one of our viewers who is near and dear to the heart of this viewer. And we want to give a special salute to Eddie Jaramillo, who currently lives here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and give a special salute to Eddie. He was in service from 1951 until 1953, and while he was in service, he was stationed in Korea during those times, and he was a water specialist. Now, I know, as a little aside, I know personal things about Mr. Jaramillo because of my relationship to the person who gave him the salute, and I can say that this man is a remarkable individual who has lived through a lot of trying things in his life and yet has stayed strong and had a firm belief in our nation and its values. And so giving this special salute today is his loving daughter, Margaret Griffin, who gives a special salute to Eddie Jaramillo and thanking him for his service to our nation and to all of us who now can enjoy the fruits of liberty because of his service. If you would like to honor a veteran with a special salute on our show, then drop us an email at info@justicelegalgroup.com and give us your name and your email address. We'll get in touch with you to see what we can do to give the special salute to the veteran of your choice. Hi, I'm David Standridge from the Justice Legal Group. Our firm represents veterans and helps them obtain benefits in their disability cases before the Veterans Administration. We believe that you worked hard to protect our nation, and we want to work hard to protect you. Welcome back to Justice for Veterans, and we're excited that you're joining us today, and we're honored to have a special guest with us today. Ben Lucero from Indigo Mortgage is going to be our special guest. We're going to talk to Ben a bit about his business, what he's doing to help veterans and the veterans community, and we're excited to have him here with us today. So Ben, thank you very much for joining us. We're honored to have you today.
Well, it's an honor to be here, I assure you that.
Well, thank you. I've mentioned your name. Tell us very briefly, what is your occupation?
Well, I'm the owner of Indigo Mortgage right here in Albuquerque.
Awesome. And I definitely want to talk to you about Indigo Mortgage and the things you're doing to help vets, but let's get to know you a little bit more. Did you serve in the military?
I did not, but my father did.
Oh, what branch?
My father was in the Navy, of all things, and he's from right here in New Mexico.
Awesome. A Navy man from the desert.
There you go. I don't know how that happened.
It happens. I run into him. So. And interesting, we were talking before we started filming about our common connections and stuff, and I learned about you from various individuals in the veterans community, and they said, you got to talk to Ben. He helps out so many vets, so that's great. You grew up here in Albuquerque?
I grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, born and raised, and then I went to the University of Missouri, spent some time out there. I ran track and field out there, and when that was over, I moved to Phoenix. Thought that would be the place, and it was too big and too fast for me, and I moved back here to New Mexico a little over 20 years ago.
Awesome, awesome. You don't look like you're that old to have been.
I'm 51, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, you got more hair than I do. That's great. That's great. Well, how'd you get into the mortgage business?
Well, you know, I was working in Phoenix, and I was working for a finance company, and one of the offshoots that we did, or one of the job responsibilities, was to do mortgages, second mortgages, home equity loans for people, and I got really good at it. We had 6 branches in Phoenix, and I was number 1. I got recruited by another company to do mortgages there. We did only second mortgages. It was called Gold Dome Acceptance, and I was the number 1 salesperson in the country 2 years running.
Wow.
Really loved it, and I always stayed in touch, but I wanted to move back to New Mexico, and I ended up getting into pharmaceutical sales at that time. A friend of mine moved over here. His name is David, and he opened up his own mortgage company here, so I stayed in touch with it. I was referring loans to him, and I always kept in touch with the loans, and went through my career many different things, and then in 2001, God said, get a broker's license. And I was already working, I already had jobs, I had good income, and God said, get a broker's license. And at that time, man, I went up to Santa Fe with $300, a resume, and a warm body.
Wow.
And they gave me a broker's license, started in my garage, and that literally is how it happened.
That's awesome. I love hearing how successful people start off. I mean, that's exciting. It's motivation for lots of us.
Yeah.
Well, that's good for you. Now, do you have to have any special licensures or anything?
You do now. When I first got in, you didn't. You really, you had a resume, you had experience, they gave you a broker's license, and you were ongoing. And then a few years ago, they instituted you have to have a national certification, you have to be licensed nationally, you have to be licensed through the state. You have to have 23 hours of class time. You got to pass a national test. You have to. It's like passing a security license, you know. And it was really tough, and it weeded out a lot of people. And so to be in the mortgage business today, on this side of it, as a broker, you have to be licensed, and it's very tough. So everybody that works at Indigo Mortgage, that's a loan officer, which we have 4 of them now, have all passed the test and gotten licensed.
Wow.
So it's a lot tougher now.
Yeah, and did those changes come about because of what happened, say, in 2007, 2008?
It sure did, because think about when I got my license, how easy it was. Everybody did that, and you had people that were really just, they didn't know what they were doing, and it really caused havoc. So they just wanted to make sure that on our side of it, that we know what we know.
Yeah, we're still digging out of that in some respects.
In some respects, for sure, yeah.
Well, that's great. And so Indigo Mortgage is based in Albuquerque?
Yep, by me, right here. Everything's local right here. We operate out of Albuquerque, but we service the whole state of New Mexico.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. So, and you mentioned you're from Las Cruces. Is your family still in Las Cruces or area, or are they here in Albuquerque?
Well, that's great that you asked, because most of them work with Indigo Mortgage. Yeah, my brother Jerry is the office manager. My sister Laura is a loan officer. Jerry's wife is one of our processors. His son-in-law is one of our other loan officers. And most of us go to the same church. So when we say local, we're local.
That's awesome. And where do you attend?
Mars Hill.
Okay,
Mars Hill
awesome.
Church, yeah.
I've had run-ins with lots of people in a positive fashion.
Yeah.
A lot of people who attend there. That's
Sure.
great. Well, good. You definitely are contributing to the benefit of our community, so that's good. Well, let me ask you some questions, because when I was looking for different people to talk to here in Justice for Veterans, your name repeatedly came up, and it came up from different individuals, as I've already mentioned. And they said, you know what, Ben's doing a lot of good to help veterans and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I've heard your name. I've heard you on the radio. I've heard you mention what you do for veterans. Can you tell our viewers what is your, I'm hesitant to use the word niche, but what is your specialization in helping veterans? What do you do to help the veterans?
Well, first of all, we care about the veteran, and I don't say that lightly. We really do. I remember when I first got into the business, we were doing a few veterans loans, and I just saw what a strong program it was. And one day a guy came up, and he had an old computer paper, the ones that did the accordion fold out, and he folded that paper like that, and it went all the way to the floor, and it had names this big of all the veterans in New Mexico. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of veterans. And then as I started getting certified to do veteran loans and starting to talk to more veterans, I found out that they're not underserved, but they're not getting a lot of accurate information, and that really concerned me. That most of the information the veterans get is from mailers or from emails, or just people calling them on the phone. They got a hold of that same list I did, and they're really not trying to help the veteran. And a lot of misinformation, and a lot of it's really bad. And so I just felt like I want to serve the veteran in giving them accurate information. I want to be an advocate for them, and by all means, if I say, hey, come in, let me look at what this person is offering you, or this entity is offering you, I'll tell you whether it's good or bad. And as a veteran, you deserve to get a good deal, and if it's legitimate, I'll tell you to go that way. And if it's not, I'll tell you to still steer clear, And so that's what we do for the veteran. I just want to make sure that they understand. We try to do what we can on the radio, but we do try to educate the veteran on how many times they can use their entitlement, which is as many times as they want, as long as the old loans are paid off. They can split their benefit a lot of times, which is kind of new. So we try to give them accurate information, an accurate view of what the market is bearing, particularly in interest rates, and be careful with hybrid arms and all these different things that these online and out-of-state lenders are promoting. So like I said, we try to be like a safe haven for them and an advocate for them, so they do understand what their options are.
Okay. Yeah. And you covered a lot of ground there, a lot of things I want to talk about. One of the things that just jumped out to me based on what you said is that you have a veteran certification. That's in addition to the licensures that you already have? Yeah,
you have to be basically approved by the VA to do VA loans. VA doesn't actually lend the money to the veterans. You have to go through a lender, and then they guarantee the loans to the vendor. But you have to be certified by the VA to be set up with them, to offer loans, because we have to talk to the VA all the time to order appraisals and different things like that. So yeah, early on I got certified to do that. So.
That's great. And do you have to maintain any kind of ongoing education hours to keep that certification?
This is really what it is. As long as you don't get any complaints from the veterans, they keep you going. You send in a registration fee for every lender once a year. But if you go upside down with somebody or something happens, they'll report you to the VA. The VA will call you, and then they have basically a hearing and say, hey man, you're not allowed to lend anymore.
Now, how long have you been certified to help vets?
Oh, I would say we've been certified since about 2003, 2004.
Wow, a long time.
Yeah.
So obviously you've gone all that time with no complaints and no problems with the VA.
So far. Right,
Good,
right.
good.
And we do what we can to help them.
Good for you. And so let's say a veteran, well, before I even get to that point, let me ask you, how are veterans loans different from, say, me? I mean, a regular person out there with a job and not a veteran.
Veterans loans is continues to be the strongest loan on the market. Let's take purchases. When a veteran wants to purchase a home, the VA is going to give him 100%, means no money down. They can go into that house to buy as long as it's $417,000 or less, and they have their full eligibility is what's called, which most of them do. They can go and buy that house with zero down. No mortgage insurance. Anytime on a regular loan, anytime it's over 80%, you have mortgage insurance. The VA does not have mortgage insurance.
Wow.
It's really incredible. The rates are better. You do have a funding fee that is added on to the loan, but if the veteran has 10% or more disability, that funding fee is waived. We're doing loans for veterans, and anymore with the rates being the way they are, an interest rate today of 4.25%, say, will generate 2% credit from the lender. That means the lender is paying the veteran to do the loan. It's an amazing thing. Let's take a $100,000 loan. If they do a $100,000 loan at 4.25%, the VA is not only going to pay my fee, but the VA is also going to give them an additional credit to pay their closing costs for them, which is awesome. And as a broker, we can roll those credits to the veteran. A lot of times, banks, big lending companies that you hear around, they don't roll those credits over to the veteran. They keep them.
Wow.
But we will roll that over to the veteran to help them to pay their closing costs. So just in the purchase area, right there, you see how strong that mortgage is. On a refinance, a veteran, say, is with one of the big banks, and they have a $250,000 mortgage, and they want to refinance it into a VA loan. We can refinance that into a VA up to 100% of the value of the home. And if they want to pay off debts, we will do 100% cash out on as long as they're paying off debts. If they're paying off a first and second, and they want to pay off some credit card debts, we can do that up to 100% of the value of the home. That is outstanding.
Wow.
People would look at it as risky, but the default rate on veterans loans is very small. Very honorable people.
Absolutely.
It's really awesome. And so the VA takes the risk. And so in a refinance, those are the options we have. And then of course you have a VA streamline loan. When a veteran has a streamline currently, a VA loan currently, and they want to basically streamline into another VA loan at a lower rate or maybe a shorter term, they can do that without an appraisal, without any income verification. They just have to have a qualifying credit score, and that's it.
Man, I'll tell you, Ben,
Yeah.
you're saying a lot of things. I work with a lot of disabled veterans, but I have never heard of some of the things that you're talking
Yeah.
about. I would imagine there's a lot of people out there, the veterans themselves, who don't know about these kind of things. Are you seeing any kind of problems in the mortgage industry regarding veterans and how they're being treated?
There you hit it. It's the way they're being treated. I'll give you an example. There's a company out of Florida that flies in, and they'll fly in with a whole group of guys, and they get a hold of that list, and they'll call veterans all through town, and they'll say, hey, we got this great deal for you, let us come in. They get into their house, and they're offering them an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, which just is a short-term fixed rate. And one of my veterans, his name is Ron Hodnett, really a veteran that I've gotten to know, and he cares a lot. And he called me and says, these guys are in my house, and they're telling me they can get me whatever the rate was at 2.75. And I said, Ron, ask them if it's a fixed rate. And they kept saying, yes, it's a fixed rate. And he said, is it a 30-year fixed rate? And they're going, it is a fixed rate. But they would never say that it was a 30-year fixed rate. So they weren't honest with the veteran. They were trying to put him into an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, but it's not a 30-year fixed rate. And and a lot of these guys, I had a veteran call me and he says, hey, Ben, these guys got me into this refinance at 2.8, and I asked him, is it an ARM? He said, no, they told him it was a fixed rate. And I said, send me your paperwork. And sure enough, they had put him in an army and the guy didn't even know it. You know?
Wow.
So that's heartbreaking when you hear that. So when you say, what are they up against? That's what they're up against. They're not getting, and I can't say that everybody's, all these companies are that way, but I don't trust them. You know? I don't. And a lot of them come by and they put official looking logos on their mailers and they make it look like they work for the VA, but the VA doesn't have anybody that works for them. That you have to be certified to be a lender for them, but you do not work for the VA. You know?
So if you're certified to do these mortgages through the VA, does that mean you could do it in any state or just in New Mexico?
The licensing says that you can only do it where you're licensed. We are only licensed in New Mexico. Some of the bigger companies, you know, they do get licensed in other states and state specific. Like for example, we were looking to branch out into Florida, and Florida says that you don't have to have a brick and mortar building there, as long as you're licensed by the federal national license. You just have to have a locally licensed, Florida licensed person doing loans for you in Florida. So I couldn't open up there and operate from here. I would have to have a loan officer out there at least that's licensed by the federal and then also licensed by the state. So it's a little bit different. So in other words, you can't just go out of state and lend unless you're licensed in that state, regardless if it's VA or conventional loans.
Okay. So a veteran hearing what you're saying today on today's program, they get fired up, excited because you said some great things. You've said the rates are better. Well, for example, give us a different. I mean, what does a conventional rate look like versus a veteran's rate?
Today's conventional rate, I checked the rate sheet, was at 4.625. The VA rate today was 4.25. Wow. There's a big difference.
Yeah, a significant difference.
And then once you go over 80%, of course, on a conventional loan, you're going to be hit up with mortgage insurance, whereas the VA, there's not any. So.
And you said, if I understood correctly, that they'll loan up to 100%?
100% cash out on a VA loan as long as you're paying off debt.
Wow.
Yep. You can't have it cash in. But even so, even if you're doing cash out and you want to do home improvements, they'll go up to 90% of the value of the home to give you cash in hand.
And you can't do that with conventional mortgages?
No, or with FHA or any of the others.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. So a veteran, I mean, gets excited hearing about the things that you offer and these opportunities. And a vet comes to you, whether they're getting a purchase loan or a refinance or something, what kind of documents do you need? What do you need to start the process?
First of all, we talk to the veteran and we make sure that they're able to pursue a purchase or even a refinance. And if they're not, we'll work with them. You know, most people will cost a lot of money to do, you know, credit restoration stuff. We'll work with them. I'll show you, this is what you got to do. And I'll put them on a plan. I say, if you go out and you do what I tell you to do, 6 months from now, we'll be talking about getting you qualified for a home. And I love to do that to help them because most people are going to charge them. We do it free of charge. So, but usually the veteran, what we'll need from them is tax returns, W-2s for the last 2 years, paycheck stubs. If they're on a pension, we just need to see their pension income. We just need to see their DD-214, which is their separation papers, and then we'll order the certificate of eligibility for them, and we'll do all that. So
sure.
They don't need much. We usually just do the consultation on the first one, just to get an outline of what they need.
Now, at our firm, we handle a lot of veterans' disability claims. But you mentioned something. You said that disability gets a waiver. Get a waiver of what? Okay,
so when you do a VA loan, say you're going to purchase and you've never used your VA benefit before and you don't have disability, they don't have mortgage insurance, they'll give you 100%, but they'll add on to the top of the loan 2.15%. It's a funding fee. Okay? If you use it a second time, then the funding fee goes to 3.3%. if you're using your eligibility for the second time around. So if you have 10% or more disability, those funding fees are waived. They don't have them.
Man, sounds like some great opportunities for our veterans, as it should be. So I'll tell you, Ben, we're starting to run short on time here, but I want to give an opportunity for our viewers to have some information to contact Ben at Indigo Mortgage. and find out information that you might be able to benefit from, whether you're refinancing or purchasing a new home. So Ben, can you tell us a little bit about your website, how veterans can contact you?
Great. Our website will have all the information I just shared with you on our website, and it's indigomortgage.net, on the net, indigomortgage.net. And they'll be able to, we have a little icon there that you push for veterans, go over all that information. You can call us at 836-5700. That's 836-5700. You can email me directly if you'd like at ben@indigomortgage.net, ben@indigomortgage.net. And we are right on the southwest corner of Comanche and Wyoming. You can't miss us with the Indigo Mortgage signs. Right on the southwest corner of Comanche and Wyoming. Stop by and see us. We'd love to see you.
And you don't have a problem if veterans give you a call if they have questions, just want to run things by you?
No, we love it. That's
right.
We're there for that.
Great, great. Well, we thank you for being here with us today. Thank you very much. I think it's been very informative and educational. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So we, as we get ready to conclude here, we want to thank Ben Lucero again from Indigo Mortgage. And again, if you'd like to reach him, contact him at his website. It's indigomortgage.net. You can get a hold of Ben and ask him any questions you may have regarding your mortgage, regarding your refinance project or payment of debts. And it sounds like Ben's open. He says he's open to any educational questions that you may have. So we're very happy to have had Ben today as our special guest here on Justice for Veterans. And if you would like to appear and give some information to our veterans community, we urge you to contact us. You can call me, David Standridge, at 880-8737, or you can email me at info@justicelegalgroup.com and let me know what kind of information you can give to our veterans community that might be beneficial here on our program of Justice for Veterans. So again, thank you to our special guest, Ben Lucero. We thank you for joining us today. We're excited for the opportunity to talk to our special guests and to provide information to our veterans. And we look forward to next program where we will have another special guest who will tell you more about what's going on in the veterans community that can benefit you. And as we say goodbye today, we want to thank all of the men and women who served on our behalf. We say thank you. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you for watching Justice for Veterans. A special thanks to the Ronald Reagan Foundation, the Justice Legal Group, and the veterans who have made this show possible. Tune in next week for a new episode of Justice for Veterans.